Hey, how's it going? I'm Cody J, and if you're new to the channel, I'm a director, designer, and filmmaker over at Revival Mode, and that's Mochi just getting real wild when she hears me talk. I don't know why, but it's fine. We'll just leave her. I'm going to show you guys how to get some clients, and we'll talk about how I started first getting clients, and then, how it's going now, 3+ years later, of being in this community and career path. So stay tuned. So like I said in the intro, I was going to talk about how I started 3+ years ago. And when I first did start, it was with SWOON Creative Collective. And it really didn't have any kind of like goal as far as what we wanted to shoot. It was more like, let's shoot everything we possibly can, kind of get to know what we like, what we dislike. And weddings were like our first introduction to this career. And so how I got started is I worked at Revzilla, which is a motorcycle accessory and like apparel place, right? They sell helmets, they sell all that stuff, like parts and cool stuff like that. So I worked there, and I knew I just wanted to do something else, right? Like I've always had this creative bug that just like always in the back of my head scratching. So when I was at Revzilla, all I was doing was really just like cleaning off parts for returns and making sure like they're good and everything's perfect and put away. So it got very mundane very quickly, right? And I always tried to move around within the company just so like I wouldn't get bored. But when you do a job that is like the same thing every day, it gets hard. So what I did was a coworker there, or not a coworker, my manager at the time, KJ. She was getting married, and I was like, hey, can I please, like, are you doing a videographer? And she's just like, no, we're just doing photography, and we're getting married at the Artisan. And I was like, oh man, that's so cool. Please let me shoot your wedding. I'll do it for free. If you hate it, like, you don't need to do anything with it. And and honestly, it turned out really awesome for my first wedding, and she was super happy, and so was Kyle, her husband. And honestly, I look back at it now, and I did capture like the good moments for their wedding. So I'm proud of that. And it just kind of took off from there. So what did I do after that? I took that video, I made a website on Wix, which I don't recommend now, but yeah, I made a website on Wix, and I just started pounding the pavement. Really. I signed up for like Thumbtack. I was paying money to like send quotes to couples, and I did book a few, right? Like just from that one video. So like it might not have been my best work because it was the first thing, but I just got started, right? And that's what it takes sometimes. It's just like figuring out what you want to do, go do it, and then just like promote it the best way you can. So like I would look in wedding Facebook groups, and I would just like comment on everything. Like, I'll shoot your wedding for $500. I'll do it for $1,000. It didn't matter. Money wasn't the motivator then. It's still not, like, completely, and I'll get to that when we talk about how I get clients now, right? So that's what I did for a long time. I just kept pounding the pavement, kept like quoting everything. I had my stuff on every website because I just wanted to be seen, and I wanted people to know like my talents and book me. So what ended up kind of happening from that is a lot of other companies that were coming to Vegas, and Vegas is like very transient. It's kind of like locked off, is how I felt. It just feels like you have to know someone to get in, and I didn't know anybody, and I was also like a super introverted person, so I wouldn't get out and meet people that way. I did a lot of things from right here, just behind a computer, right? So, yeah, it's just starting with something and then showing you can do something, and just going out. And even, I mean, do I recommend paying for like quotes to send them? No, just because like if you have the money, sure, but it was a lot, like, and it did get me to a lot of opportunities. But if you can't afford it, that's like totally understandable. You can do other things. You can join Facebook groups in your local area that are for weddings or for whatever your niche is or whatever you do. Just look around and like join your community more, because you'll start interacting with the people that maybe they are getting the jobs you would love to be on, and they see that you're passionate about something, and they hire you. And that's exactly what happened. Like, I had a video from downtown. It was just raining one night, and it never rains in Vegas. And I ran down there, and I got my favorite shots, and I put together this really beautiful thing that was for me, right? And I put it online, and guess what? Like, that's how I got introduced to all the Cirque du Soleil stuff. Someone saw that video and was like, oh man, like this B-roll is great. And that's how I met like my good friends like Alex and Eugene and all those guys I shoot with. So like, it's just putting yourself out there as much as you possibly can, even if it's just making things for yourself for fun. Because man, I used to have so many wedding couples that would just be like, oh, I saw this video of you and Jen like on a vacation and it was so beautiful. Like it made me realize like we want you as a videographer, right? So how are things different now? I still go out and I look for those jobs, but like it's in a different way. It's not so much like the scarcity mindset where it's like, I'll shoot anything, right? I did that for a long time, and it burns you out because you're shooting things that don't line up with your visions, your aspirations, even maybe your morals or integrity, right? So what I started doing was looking at my own stuff. I looked back at it and I said, how can I improve my presence so that when someone sees the first impression is it's a thing. It is with our careers. Like if you don't make a good impression at first, like the client's going to say, all right, well, never mind. And they're going to move on. And I used to think my Instagram was like so good. Now I look at it and it was just a bunch of cryptic lyrics on like, some like videos I put together. And while they're beautiful and probably what I needed at the time, they just aren't attracting clients because they're like, what does this person do? You're not being direct. So the more direct, the better. Okay, another tip I can give you for just finding the clients you're supposed to be with, right? Like supposed to be working with, is just be yourself as much as possible online. Like at first, you probably can't do that just because you're establishing yourself and you're figuring out who you are anyway, like in that space. So it's a thing that takes a minute. It takes a while, and I'm just like stepping into it, and it feels good because I am attracting like the clients I want. So to speak to the point of like redoing my Instagram, redoing my website, just making sure it all looks good for whoever sees it, right? So what I did was I did all of that, and then I started following the brands that I'm interested in, the people I want to work with. And usually what happens is I'll follow them, and I don't really have to do anything else. They go and look at my Instagram. They know that I'm a filmmaker and a designer, and I can do a bunch of cool shit to help them with their business. So they send me a DM, and that's usually how it goes. And that's been so much better because rather than like sit there and try to sell yourself to someone like to the point of just exhaustion, right? Like to try to show them value is hard. A lot of clients will not see value. They will only see dollars and cents, and those are the ones you probably don't want to work with, but you're going to have to get to the point where I am, to where money is secondary to me now. It's more, hey, I really want to work with this brand, and I'll either sacrifice a little bit of money to like make it work, or whatever it is, right? Like more happiness rather than being like, oh, cool, I made it like 10 grand on this shoot, but like, were you happy? Did you like the end product? Did it speak to you? Or was it just like, hey, you did this? And those jobs come and they go, and we do them, and they help us, fund things we want to do personally, projects wise. And yeah, it's hard. It's hard to be a creative and someone that like really knows what they're doing, but it's hard to convey that to people. So just take a look at your own stuff, and look at it from a client's view. Like, do they know what you do? Can they find your website? Does your website load quickly? Does it get to the point and show them exactly what you're about? And that, that's it. Like, that's all I've wanted for myself. And I think I finally did it with this brand, which is awesome. And, I'm trying to think of some other tips for client acquisition because I don't feel like I touched on too many of them. So I'm going to give you like 5 tips on how to get clients. So tip number 1, and I said this on my Instagram, if you're not following me there, you should, because you get kind of like insider stuff like a little bit early. And so tip number 1 was just making sure you are, trying to be seen as much as possible online. So if someone searches Las Vegas videographer, you want to come up somewhere, whether that be on like, Wedding Wire or stuff like that, like Thumbtack, Yelp, all that stuff. The more that you can pop up in a search result, and especially since those ones come up first because they are huge companies and can spend money on SEO and all that stuff, you're going to get in front of clients, like, and it's going to happen. And that's exactly what happened to us. Like, and then you'll start working on SEO on your website, and you'll eventually become one of those people that are at the top of Google. We are still currently working on that. And then, so tip number 2 is follow people that inspire you, right? Like I started following people in Las Vegas that I never talked to or never like even knew existed, but I just started looking for them. And it's awesome because like you can connect with people and they'll see what you're good at and you can see what they're good at. And like if you have a project, you can just collaborate with each other. That's what it's all about, like camaraderie and like, hey, you want to do this project with me? Like, you know which team you want to work with to have a successful shoot, and like just feel good about it at the end. Like nobody's like butting heads, and it's just like super creative, collaborative environment. So another tip is join like Facebook groups, like do all that, you know, make sure you're kind of putting your stuff out there, right? So even like international groups are fine. Put your stuff on like all your social media if you can, like everywhere. I remember, I think I posted a video on Facebook and like someone contacted me, and I think that's how I met Astrocolor. And like, dude, those are like some of the best times I've had filmmaking, making these music videos for them. And I'll put them down in the notes for you to check them out. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you put your stuff out there, you'll get it seen, someone will notice, and you just got to keep trying, and you got to keep getting better and better and better. So like, put your stuff out there, get critiques, listen to them openly, and apply them. Another tip I just thought of is you get served ads every single day. So what I do is if I see an ad for something I'm like interested in, like personally, like I think I've seen so many electronic motorcycles lately that I'm just like, woo. But you take that and you just follow the brand, and like maybe they don't have a person yet. You don't know. There's nothing wrong with sending a message and saying, hey, I love what you're doing. If you ever want to work together in any capacity, please let me know. I'm so interested in what you guys are doing. Just be a human and be supportive of the person, because behind like this brand, there's usually a guy like me just like, like struggling to just keep it together. And so that little encouragement, that little bits of support will be remembered, and they might be like, oh man, like I remember this person a long time ago hit me up, and you know, I'm going to hire them to do all of our stuff because they were stoked from the beginning. I can't think of any other tips. If I do, I'll put them down in the notes, and maybe I'll just write them out so they're there. But yeah, it's really all about getting yourself out there, getting seen, being heard. It's just leaning into yourself and attracting the people that are going to support you the best way and are going to be a reflection of the things you want to accomplish and do in your life, right? So that's all it is. It's just connection on a deeper level than business. It's finding out what makes a brand tick and what got it started from the beginning. So the more you do that, the more successful you're going to be with clients, and the more they're going to realize you really give a shit about what they're doing. So I think that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. It helps it grow, and it helps me, you know, make these videos on a more consistent basis because I make more money from the YouTube stuff and like sponsorships and stuff like that. So that's a good way to support the channel. Also make sure to, tick the bell and be notified when the next video comes out, which is going to be weekly from now on. That's what I'm going for. This one's a little late just because I was just pacing forever and just couldn't put the thoughts down. So, but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And if you did really, 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 really enjoy this, please share it in like a Facebook group that you're in, because that's like how I get people to come and see what we're doing, right? Like I'm trying to build a community of young people that are just trying to do something creative and not get f***ed over, right? That sucks. So take care of yourselves, and I will just catch you in the next video. Thank you.